Please don't leave us like Christian Wood. Please don't leave us like Christian Wood. Please don't leave us like Christian Wood. Oh, what was I just doing? Don't even worry about it. What I was doing is what every other Pistons player is doing right now. And that is doing the best for the franchise, because I didn't think we'd be able to do it. I didn't think the Detroit Pistons would pull it off. But as of right now, we are currently the second worst team in the NBA. We are currently the second worst team in the NBA. And why is it important to be the second worst team and 2 games in front of the fourth worst team in the NBA? Well, that's because if you look at the lottery odds, the top 3 teams are winning it all. The rest of the teams are completely doomed. Your franchise is going to fail for the rest of your life. And well, if you're not in the top 3, you suck. So basically, that's why I'm excited about being the second worst team in the NBA. And that's why we have to give some respect to the Detroit Pistons, because they're somehow still doing this now. Fingers crossed, because it's not done yet. And they could still manage to slip out of the bottom 3. But as of right now, the Pistons have top 3 lottery odds and a chance at Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, Evan Mobley, Jalen Suggs, any of those guys. I don't really care at this point. One of them would be absolutely amazing. You know what else would be amazing? Dropping a like on the video and subscribing to the channel. I make content like this close to every single day, and doing so, it just really helps out how the video goes, so that would be appreciated. As I mentioned, the Pistons are currently in the midst of a very, very excellent tanking season. But it's deeper than, oh, they just suck. They're just a terrible team. There's no bright future. No, it's a little bit deeper, because that might be what the casual observer sees. But what us Pistons fans know is this team has been competitive just about every game of the season, and they have found ways to lose, which is a good thing. That's not me just saying that. The NBA determines clutch games as games that are separated by 5 points or less heading into the last 5 minutes of the game. So basically close games. That makes sense? Well, Detroit Pistons, they have the worst record in the NBA in clutch games, in close games, whatever you want to call it, a record of 6-25. That has a winning percentage of 19%. You know who has the second worst record in those situations? Yeah, the Houston Rockets, who absolutely suck in any situation. And well, they're a whole 10% better. So the Detroit Pistons are finding absolutely every way to lose games in the clutch, which is absolutely excellent. That's what we want to do. Oh, will they not be able to win games down the stretch when it comes down to times where it matters? We'll talk about that when it matters. But right now, losing games is the number one priority. Being competitive while losing games is the number one priority. And the other number one priority, that's 3 number one priorities, which makes absolutely no sense, but they're all priorities, is getting young players to play in those competitive games and losing. Tick, tick, tick. Oh yeah, and also another stat to mention before I get into it. The only other team with a worse winning percentage in the clutch in the last 5 years was the 10-win 76ers. Oh yeah, that's terrible. Who did they get the next year? Ben Simmons. Who's Ben Simmons compared to in this year's draft? Cade Cunningham with a jump shot. And you know who else was on the 76ers team that won 10 games? Jeremy Grant, Jahlil Okafor. Full circle, would some say? Full circle? All I'm saying is, those are too many coincidences for me. Way too many coincidences for me. Basically, the stars are aligning. That's what I'm saying. The youth movement has been excellent, and we've got to start with someone who just had a great game the other night. That's Sekou Doumbouya, a channel favorite here. You know I've defended him over here. Some people don't exactly like him, but over the last 4 games, Ramadan Sekou is a different beast. He's averaging 12 points a game, shooting nearly 50% from the field. Yeah, his 3-point shooting is struggling. His free throw shooting has taken a bit of a dip, but in general, you're looking at someone who has found some confidence, and he's finally starting to figure it out. He's realizing that he's too big and strong for the smaller defenders, so he's taking them to the rim. He's also too quick and agile for the bigger defenders, so what he's able to do is get around those guys. That's the potential he has. He's still got a bit of work to do on his fitness, his strength. Obviously, he's fasting right now, so you got to give him a little bit of slack, but I still think you can see he doesn't look exactly like the best NBA athletes right now at this stage, but he has the potential to be that with his frame, with his athleticism. He could really feel out to be one of the better athletes in the entire NBA. That's the kind of potential he has. And once he has that kind of frame, someone who can handle the ball, someone who can take players off the dribble, he's got a shooting stroke. I know the percentages are down. I know the numbers aren't great. This is someone who shot above 35% in the G League last year over a good sample size on a lot of 3-point attempts. He's been shooting over 70% from the free throw line throughout the season. He's got a pretty nice looking jump shot. It's not a broken looking jump shot. He's not afraid to take it as well, so it's not a confidence thing. Right now, they're just not falling, but eventually they'll fall. And then when you see him make a couple of them, like against the Hornets, Hornets, all of a sudden he can have a 20-point night because he's getting out in transition and he's getting buckets other ways that the three-point shot isn't relied on. That's the key. The three-point shot, when it's not relied on, then he can be really good. And just getting this stretch of minutes, you're seeing what he can do. He can start to score, he can start to put the ball on the floor, and we're seeing his offensive potential. And then defensively, this is something that got him into the mix, into the rotation. He started playing harder on the defensive end of the floor. He's shown signs. That's where a lot of his upside was seen in the draft. He's someone who's 6'8". He's 220 pounds or whatever. That's off the top of my head. I don't know if that's true, but he's a heavy guy, but he can still move his feet laterally. He's got potential as a post defender, as a switchable guy, as someone who switches onto the perimeter. He's got a lot of defensive potential. I mean, we saw him have an incredible chase down block against Portland. Look it up if you need to after this video, of course. And it was just a fantastic block. That's the kind of potential he has. I think defensively, there's a lot of untapped potential as well that sometimes gets overlooked a bit. And we may as well talk about the meilleur recrue. Apparently that's the best rookie in French, but the best rookie in the NBA, Killian Hayes, of course. Not quite, but he's been playing really well over the last stretch of games since coming back from a serious injury. Oui, whatever you want to say in French. I don't speak French, but any of my bilingual people, you can let me know down below. Basically, Killian Hayes is starting to show why we drafted him. He had a bit of a rough game against the Hornets. Yeah, he missed a free throw. Yeah, he missed a three. Who really cares? We're trying to lose games. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. Kobe Bryant, how many threes did he airball in a row and then became one of the greatest players of all time? Yeah, we all remember that. This is Killian Hayes' story as well. So he's doing the same kind of thing. And well, if you just look at the numbers since his return from injury, a serious injury, as a rookie point guard, he's averaging 6.8 points a game, shooting 36.7% from the field, 25% from three. Yeah, okay, not great, but he's averaging 6 assists per game, which is third among rookies. He's also averaging 1.8 steals a game, which is second among rookies. So defensively, he's been engaged. He's been great. And then from a playmaking aspect, he's been good as well. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, you can't have your concerns or criticism about his scoring. Yeah, that's cool. Like, you can criticize some of his scoring. Sure, sometimes it looks like he uses his left hand to try and score way too much. Sometimes he's hesitant, which also comes from the fact he has had a serious injury. You can see that in players all the time. After a serious injury, they can be a little bit hesitant, and in general, he takes a lot of tough shots. But a lot of these are just rookie concerns, in my opinion. He's shooting a good percentage from the free throw line. I know bad timing after he missed a crucial one, but he's shooting a good percentage from the free throw line. He's making some mid-range shots. He made mid-range shots last year overseas and free throws, so he's got a decent base for his shooting. You can see that it's not a broken shot. He's just got to figure out how to make it more consistently. But there is a shot there that will eventually turn into a decent three-point shot, I believe that. If you look at his last 10 games, focusing on what he does really well, he's averaging 6.9 assists per game. 6.9 assists per game. Yeah, for the people in the back, 6.9 assists. And I'm not saying that because it's 6.9, but I'm just saying that's nearly 7 assists a game for a rookie over his last 10 games coming off an injury. Like, that's not just a normal thing to do. And then I think when you mix in that passing, that little deception he has, that pick and roll game, all of a sudden, if you've got a decent shot, which he does, a decent mid-range shot, he can get to the rim. I think once he starts to be more feared as a passer, which he will be as time goes on, all of a sudden the space will open up for him as a shooter and as a scorer, and it'll be a lot easier for him to get buckets. I think as he packs on more muscle as well, he's not a crazy athletic guy, and he becomes like that James Harden kind of physical build because he likes to kind of finish through contact, but he's not quite strong enough to do it yet. As he becomes that kind of guy, then he could be a decent scorer as well. I think his passing, his defense has been fantastic. It's been among the best rookies in the NBA by far. And then scoring, okay, he's struggling. 2 out of the 3 aspects of the game, he's doing fantastically well, and we only want to focus on the scoring. Why? And a player you knew I wasn't going to forget to talk about, Frank Jackson, Fro Jackson, the best 6 man in the league, turning into an elite player right in front of our eyes, just turned 23. Derrick Rose got traded. I don't care. He's the best 6 man in the NBA. Anyway, that's Frank Jackson. This man has hit a different level right now. This isn't a blip on the radar. Since he's entered the rotation on the 15th of March, he's averaging 12.8 points per game in just 22 minutes a night, which has him 11th amongst bench players in that period of time for scoring. But more impressively than the scoring is the great efficiency. He's shooting nearly 50% from the field, over 40% from 3, and over 80% from the free throw line, and that gives him a true shooting percentage of over 62%, which is 6% above league average, and pretty much better than anyone else scoring that kind of volume off the bench. That's what he's doing right now. And he's playing great defense. He's someone that comes off screens and hits his shots. He's not just hitting open three-point shots. He can do that as well, but he can get to the rim. He can hit mid-range shots. He can come off screens. He can hit it off the dribble. He's got every sign of being a really good scorer in the NBA. And over the last 10 games, he's been even hotter. So he's just continually getting better defensively, offensively. Frank Jackson. Like, what is he? He's just a fantastic player. 6th man of the year next year. That's what we can bank on. Just please re-sign him. Please re-sign him. Shout out to Dwayne Casey as well. I may as well get that shout out of the way right now. I think he's doing a good job with the young players. Whether he's going to lead us to a championship is yet to be seen. But the way everyone's developing, it's not just because of Troy Weaver. Dwayne Casey deserves some credit as well. And so does Troy Weaver. So I'll just give that credit right now. But we're here to talk about the players. And we may as well talk about the best rookie center in the NBA right now as well. Beef Stew. He just had a bit of a down game against the Hornets, but in general, over the last month, since April, he's just been ridiculously good. He's averaging 10 points, 9 rebounds a game, which has him as the clear best rebounder amongst rookies. He's also towards the top in terms of scoring amongst rookies. He's averaging the most blocks amongst rookies, and it's not even close. And something that's even crazier, over the last 10 games amongst NBA players, forget about the rookie tag, amongst NBA players, he's averaging the 3rd most blocks in the NBA. The 3rd most blocks in the entire NBA, Beef Stew, over the last 10 games. Not to mention, he's the clear offensive rebounder amongst rookies. He's shooting at 45% on mid-range shots and over 70% on free throws over that period of time. Plus, we've seen him hit the 3-ball. He's doing everything. Literally, he's doing everything. I've said it before, but there's no ceiling for this guy. He's one of the hardest workers in the NBA by all reports, the hardest worker on the team. He hustles, he's going to get his rebounds, he's going to get his putbacks, and he's going to get his block shots. That's the minimum for him going forward, but then you add into the mix the potential of his shot. Maybe a handle will come through. I've seen him make some decent passes as well, some better reads. He can defend in space, he can move his feet laterally, he can switch onto smaller guys. Like, what's the ceiling for this guy? There is no ceiling. He could be something incredibly special. He already is. He's a unanimous first-team rookie. So he's been that good. Some people thought it was a reach at 16. Some people thought it was a reach at 16. No. And we might as well briefly cover the other guy from our draft class. There's not too much to say about Sadiq. He's on the trajectory to be the greatest shooter of all time. That's kind of all we need to say. But seriously, he's just been fantastic. He plays hard on both ends of the floor. He's also averaging 3 assists a game over the last 4 games, which is just a sign of him recognizing the defenses are starting to load up on him a bit more, and it's showing that he does have that playmaking potential. He was seen as a decent passer out of college from what I read about, and there's just the signs of his shot creation as well, off the dribble, from 3-point range, from mid-range, getting to the rim. As he gets better at doing that, he's going to get to the free throw line more, which he shoots really well from. So there's just a lot of signs of him becoming more than just a 3-point shooter. But right now, he's really good at doing that, and we're seeing signs of potential of him being a shot creator as well, and maybe even a playmaker long down the road. At the very least, we've got someone who I think could be a 20-point per game scorer, who plays hard defensively. Like, what else do you want? Another steal at the 19th pick. I've talked about Sadiq Bey. There's not even too much to talk about. Like, he's just that guy. Now, I've done all of this talking and haven't even talked about the guy that dropped 35 points the other game, Hamidou Diallo, who's been playing really well over the last few games. And in terms of his 3-point shooting, I'm still not convinced on it. I know he's shooting 45% on the season for the Pistons, career 30% 3-point shooter, 60% from the free throw line. Sometimes he hits the side of the backboard, sometimes he swishes it. I wouldn't be too convinced by his 3-point shooting, but everything else is convincing. He plays hard defensively. He's one of the best rebounding guards in the NBA. He's averaging 8 rebounds a game over his last 5 games. It's not just these easy rebounds. Like, he goes and grabs them in packs, and he grabs them over centers, over anyone. He's coming out with the rebounds. One of the better rebounders in the league at his position. He'll attack the rim pretty much regardless of anything in his way. Like, he's a mini kind of Zion. He's elite at finishing through contact. He's great at getting to the rim. Everything about him outside of his shooting, I'm pretty convinced on him being a really solid NBA player. If his shooting becomes a legitimate thing, like a 35% kind of thing where he can hit his open shots, then he definitely has a spot with this team. Some other notes just to wrap it up before this video ends. If you're somehow still watching, you're a real one. Saban Lee has been solid as a rookie, second round pick, still an underrated pickup. He's been fantastic coming off the bench. Tyler Cook doesn't have the potential Sekou does, but I think he could have a role for this team going forward. What else is there to say? I mean, shout out to Dwayne Casey and Troy Weaver for everything they're doing in terms of playing the young guys. Shout out to the old guys for sitting out as well, because I think Josh Jackson had a chipped tooth or something that he sat out for. Yeah, he had a sore right tooth that he sat out for. A game, an NBA game for a sore right tooth. So that is just blatant tanking. That is blatantly playing the youth, and I respect that. So shout out to the players and the management and the coaches, everyone. To go from a team that was in such a dire situation just last year to now looking like one of the most promising teams in the entire NBA and potentially getting a top pick to make them clearly one of the most promising teams in the NBA. What else can we really say? I don't really know what else to say because I just spoke for 20 minutes. But anyways, have a good day. I'll catch you next time. Bye.